Okay, so to start this painting, what we're going to do is I'm going to find something round. This is a, what diameter circle? I don't know. What is it? I have a measuring tape here. It's about a 1, 2, started here, 1, 2, 3, 4, about 5-inch circle. Okay. And I'm just going to I'm going to hold it down kind of on this part of the canvas and kind of center it. Just trace around there like that. And voila, and then I'm going to say the center part is, now this is the trick, if you do a perfect circle in the center, you're not going to like it because it isn't perfect. It's going to be kind of like that, okay? Almost amoeba shaped. And then we've got some petals coming out like this, clear out to the corner like that. And then come out this way. These just all sort of seem to overlap, except right about there. You've got one coming up here, 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 there. Okay, so that's what we say we've got. Now it's interesting, isn't it? Because I'm going to bring them over a little bit, probably a little bit closer into this circle than I did them. We'll bring them in just a hair in here like this when we paint them. Okay. It doesn't look like much when you figure out what we're starting with, but we've got burnt sienna and I'm going to reserve this rose madder red. I might want that, but right now we're just going to do our normal things. Yellow oxide. All right. And purple. I'm trying that. These unscrew and they also flip up. I haven't had big success, but perhaps I'm not doing it right, keeping the tops clean. But they snap down now, so we'll do that. I'll let you know how that's working, because you've seen me do these caps, and I never seem to flip them, but they're designed to flip. They have an oil paint, and they work fine on that, because the oil paint doesn't harden, but acrylics harden, so at some point you can't get the caps to go back down like that. So as I figure out how to open this one. All right, it's got to open on this side. There we go. I'm going to do 2 things of yellow, probably 3 yellows. I'm going to need a lot of yellow. And this is probably where I'm running into trouble with the caps. So let me just try something here while we're doing it. This just slows my whole creative process down when I have to think and clean up. Some of you may get that. But I've got a little, here, I'll just clean the cap a little better. Well, it's probably easier to clean it now. Here. All right, let's see if, all right, we'll just keep trying it. We'll see if we can make that work. Okay. Now, ultramarine blue, that makes your army greens, okay. Let's see that one. All right, snap that back. Phthalo blue, that's more of your bright spring Irish green colors. I don't know. This cap business makes me crazy. There's the hinge, it's got to be over here. I've even got my glasses on, I'm not seeing how to open it. You know what? Life's a problem, but this does not open at all. There. Phooey with that. You know what it is the threads already don't screw on. That's just disappointing on the top of this cap. There's nothing on here to keep these threads from screwing on, and they don't want to. Well, it's a big tube. Okay, so now let's see, magenta. I'm telling you what, I'm not a big fan of this cap business where it pulls up. I almost have to use a towel to do it, and then it will do it for me. I could hold it on a towel. Let's see, what am I missing? Cad red medium and titanium white. That's scarlet. Where's cad red? I know I put it out. We had it yesterday. What are you? That is so weird. Here it is, cad red medium. All right, I'm going to use the towel here. And if I use the towel on it, just to hurt my fingers. All right, now that should be it. Oh yeah, titanium white. And I'm using a jar. Not that I'm a big fan of jars because you have to be so careful not to contaminate them. But when I bought a bunch of paint recently, you got some free jars, and at some point you got to use it. They're a little. Feels like it's a little thicker. Then there's this kind of this glob of paint that gets wasted that's on the palette knife. It's okay. We'll put the lid back on the jar. You do save money when you buy jars. You definitely save money. The thing of it is that you really save it if you don't, if you get any paint in it, then you haven't saved anything, right? All right, so let's see, and I had something called Australian Sienna, and this is only for Matisse, and if you don't have this, you could use Azo Gold. And I may or may not use this, so don't panic if you don't have it yet. Well, this is gone anyway, so I'm not probably using it, so throwing that out. Okay, next. Peeling that off, not using that. Okay, so what are we going to do? We're going to start off with a little bit of white and cad yellow medium. We're just going to come up on top of this. We had this red, just this red kind of orange background. So now I'm just going to put it on a piece of paper here. I'm going to paint my first petal in. Now the yellow's painting over this pretty nice. Here's white. If you're using student grade paints, it may not. Okay. Just so you know. You may not have that kind of success with it. Here's a little more yellow. Right now we're just sort of laying down some colors like that. And here's just pure yellow. A little bit more white and yellow. The detail on this picture is in the shadows, the shading on these petals, on the sunflower, and on the center, the center and the detail in the center. So a little yellow oxide. I'm going to mix some of that together too because I want some little darker ones automatically coming this way. Now, these are definitely going to be darker, so I might as well start with that. Okay. Coming out this way. So, I mean, there's really not too much. You're going, huh, not too impressed with that. It's okay. I saw this photo. I thought it was pretty. I thought it could be done really well if we didn't get too crazy, right? So now what we have to do here is we've got some choices. While that's drying, we can do something else. If you're watching this, we've got lots of flowers on our Facebook and page, and also on our Art Academy. We have over 365 lessons in our Art Academy. We add new ones every week, and we add new stuff to Facebook too. We tend to get a little bit more longer videos on our Art Academy, a little more detailed. I want to come into the center here with purple and paint the inside of this purple. Oh, I'm looking at the flower and automatically sneezing. What do you think of that? Automatically sneezing. How funny is that, right? Now I'm going to come this way with that. Now, going to add a bit of yellow to this purple and make this sort of darker green color. And as I come up here like this, kind of around this edge, I'm going to do that. Then I'm going to take some Cad Red Medium in purple, a little bit of ultramarine blue, okay? And as I come up this way, I'm going to make this darker, maybe a little bit darker right there too on this side. I'm going to make this kind of this darker here. And now I'm going to put a little bit more red with that. Here's a little bit, just Cad Red Medium on my brush and come around this way. Well, I think we're pretty good. I think that's all we need to do. And you're going, wow, that still doesn't look like anything, Ginger. I don't know what to tell you. I know, it doesn't. So, you know, one of the hardest things about painting in public is that, you know, it takes a while for things to look like anything. Now you hear the swishing water in the background. Okay, so now let's take a little bit of magenta and phthalo blue. Make this sort of purple color. That's pretty. Ooh, that's really pretty. I was going to put some of that there. That's nice. And then I want magenta and yellow and make this sort of deep kind of orange color. And then if I rinse my brush, I want just wipe it off. I want pure magenta, no blue on it, and yellow. And now I've got this almost sunflower yellow. See that? This really bright kind of, that's pretty. That's a good shadow color for my, using a little angle brush here. Here's a little shadow color for my petals. Saying that there's a bit of a shadow here and here like that. Just paint maybe a little bit of shadow in here like this. Let's pull a little bit of a shadow right here. Kind of maybe just coming off of these a little bit. I think they're dry enough where you can kind of pull that from the back and then lift up. From the back and then lift up. Start here and then just kind of lift up like this. Maybe a few striations going in here like that. So it's just not all one color. And then next to this one, let's put a little more cad with it. I want a nice little shadow right here on this one. And here too, I want this a little darker. Okay. So we're saying on this side, we're going to have it a little bit deeper in the yellows. See how we keep adding more color on this side and just sort of darkening this up. Okay. All very good. How about over here? What happened over here? Well, we still have the some darker ones over here. And then as we come off our sunflower, they do get a little darker. Okay. Now, not a lot to that. Now let's take a little bit of white and yellow. Just pure titanium white and yellow. And see what we've got as far as lighten any of this. Do we need a little lighter edge? Probably have to dry that first. All right, so that's what we got. We're going to just take a second now and dry everything, all right? That's just the smart thing to do. Ready? Okay, so let's start again. Now, I want a little bit of yellow and white, my lightest color here, and I'm going to say a little more white with that. You could use a cad yellow medium light too, that would be nice. Okay. Here's just some yellow maybe. Let's try that. Just cad yellow medium. I just want some brighter color here. Okay, and then this one I want it kind of brighter. Kind of playing with this. So they're not all the same color. Some of these petals are going to be more than others, and they might have a little bit of a darker color starting off and then get lighter as they go out. So if you have this darker color starting out like this, more of this kind of magenta and red, then what you can do is let's just give it a little bit of a whisper around like that. Okay. All right, now this is the fun part. We're going to just start working our way around the outside. One thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take some phthalo blue and yellow and make this really pretty green. I'm going to add some magenta to it and turn it more into a moss green, okay? All right, now this brush is going to be too big for that, I think. I'm going to need something pretty small. What have I got that's little? Some sort of little round brush. This is a 0. Well, I guess it's a 1, Bristol on 1. I'm going to wet it and just... Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off in a pattern, all right? And I'm going to start off in the center. Maybe when I had too much water on the brush, and that makes a hot mess. So here. All right, if you rinse it, you've got to get all the water out of the brush. And these are little tiny dots. I'm going to go around here like this. And almost in a, I want the dark to show through, almost in a spiral pattern. And as you come out, keep going out. This is a little, this is definitely a sock folder's picture. What we mean by that is that if you have a tendency to be the kind of person that folds your socks neatly and puts them in little compartments when you take them out of the dryer, chances are this will just seem relaxing to you, and the rest of us are going, ah, it's making me crazy, all these stupid little dots. Okay, but we're going to start making the pattern and started changing it now. I'm going to pull it up like this. Start changing it. It's spirals within spirals if you really looked at the flower, but I'm sure no two flowers are going to be exactly the same, which is why you can do yours slightly differently and it's still going to work. Just keep them little. Now, you know, I've never painted one of these like this before. We're just learning this together. This is how looking at this picture, this is my interpretation of how it would be done. Maybe somebody else would do it a different way. I guess we should zoom in. So, all right, now I've got that. Now I'm going to add some yellow to my brush. Now here's the thing, we're going to go over these with a touch of yellow on top. Not cover the whole thing, but just almost, it's like a yellow highlight. Okay, and it's really almost a light green, it's almost a moss green. And I'm just very carefully touching that. reload the brush once in a while. Don't want it too bright. I might put a little white with that. I don't want it too bright. I want it a little bit lighter as it comes toward me down here. Think of this as a clock, and I'm going to be referring to things like at 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock. And I think that will make sense to you. Okay. Almost have to go straight down with this brush. I'm not sure how you do this on an easel, in the sense that it would, if you did it big, you could do this big, it would be outstanding. But again, it takes some, just a little patience, okay? So now as we get out this way, we're going to keep coming out on the circle. And it's true that there's some over here, but in our case they're going to be in shadow, but I still have to put the highlight and then I'll glaze over them. That's the trick. I'll go ahead like there isn't a shadow here, but I'm still going to put the highlight. Notice I rolled the brush. Ooh, too much yellow. It's not the end of the world if you have too bright a dot somewhere. Don't panic. Just leave it alone. Dry it and then put a dark green piece over it. You can fudge that, okay? Now, as we come out here, kind of up this way, the dots get bigger, okay? So then what happens is that we get some almost magenta and yellow and white. We've got this sort of light, almost, let's take a little cad red medium in it. It's kind of it's a really pretty orange. Let's get some more yellow with this. Cad red medium. It's a really pretty pale, almost like a tangerine color orange, okay? Now, as they come out from here, okay, the dots get bigger. And they're in rows. And you'll notice I'm getting a new dot, new paint for each time I do this. I get a few dots and then I have to get a new paint, and I'm still spacing it, okay? You see that? Still spacing it. It gets narrower around 2 o'clock. Doesn't get as wide. But really between 7 and 5 o'clock is where it's going to be the widest in here, like this. Okay, so a little more cad red medium and yellow. Get a little bit brighter orange over here. Coming this way. And about 9 o'clock it narrows out on this side. It gets very narrow. Okay. So let's see, let's just keep going here now. Do I have to do a few of these over? Did they kind of disappear into the dark green? Do they need another coat? Maybe. All right, now what happened with these was there was a little bit of white and yellow here. Remember that color? Now some of these have a lighter highlight on them. On like half of them. So I'm going to put those. And you do need a small brush for this, and you don't put a lot of paint on the brush. For those of you that are in the habit of putting a lot of paint on your brush, you're going to find this not easy to do, because you've got to have just enough paint to make these little marks, but not so much that you can't see it. And I'm going to take a little purple here and put some purple dots in between, because I lost some of my dark when I was busy making dots. Okay, so I put a little bit of that purple back, and that's not as bright as orange as I wanted. I wanted actually brighter orange. Let's try some yellow, magenta all by itself. More yellow. Let's try this again. Don't quite have the color I want. These are really, if I varnish it, when I varnish it, the colors will pop back out. There we go, okay. Now, let's come back with the yellow, kind of the light green, and do another layer of that, because that's kind of disappeared on me. So I go in closer to these. I want it brighter, and not every one, but I want a few little ones of these brighter. Okay, maybe at 2 here, over here by 5. A couple of these just might be catching the light in the middle. You don't have to do them all, but just come back and hit a few that are a little bit brighter. Okay, and as they go out, okay, so then that's kind of the sort of half circle. And they're not that perfect. Okay, now what do you mean by that? Well, what I mean was it's not so even. Let's take a little cad red here and put it on some of them over here. Now, as I go this way, same here, I'm going to get a little cad red medium and magenta and mix those together. And I'm going to start saying that I'm going to start dotting on this around here like this, just tapping it straight on here. Okay, cad red medium magenta. And let's straight down here, and just letting this dark show through like that. And this isn't interesting because, again, this isn't a perfect circle. So if you try to make this a perfect circle, it's not going to be as effective as if you didn't. So here we go. Put some dark reds back in here. I'm going to put a little bit of burnt sienna with that. I want a little bit darker now over here, let's see, a little purple maybe. Let's get this a little darker red. This is where that rose madder would have been good too. This one here, this color right here would have been good because it's almost a burgundy color. Lisbon crimson, rose madder. This kind of color right here might have been good for some of this dark stuff that we need over here. But again, burgundy, burnt sienna, ultramarine blue, and Naphthol crimson would work too. That's your pure red. Okay, so when you're talking about wanting sometimes you can make your own colors, like a burgundy, but like a little bit of red and Naphthol crimson. It's pretty close to that. Not quite as bright, but very close, don't you think? Pretty close over here. Okay, so we're just coming up on this area and tapping this in here. Now I'm not being so careful now as I was before. So somewhere between 12 and about, I'd say 9 o'clock is where I'm doing the darkest part of this. Colors in here like that. Then I might come in here with a little purple and add some more dark colors. A few little dots of purple in here. Out this way. Now, I want an orange, which is like that, some yellow. And I want to just put some orange in here now, just on top of this, while it's still wet. Okay, now all these are dots, which is straight up and down here, like that. Here's my orange. And I'm coming back this way. Now I'm back to Cad Red Medium. Some brighter reds back over here. And it's an interesting study in colors. Here's some yellow and red. Here's some naphtha crimson and yellow, for instance. Make a nice bright orange. More yellow. Alright, so I want a lighter orange over in here. Put some more yellow with it. Now this is coming back this way. Okay, can you kind of see there? And just kind of, let me zoom back out. You can kind of see what we've got. Okay. And as I get out toward the petals, I want a lighter orange. Not yellow, no, I don't want a yellow. I just want a lighter orange color. Very much lighter orange color. So I get out this way toward the petals. Just tap that on. Tap, 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 like a little woodpecker. And I need to come up a little higher here. I got down a little low here. This is quite wide. Let's get some more of this red up in here. Cad Red Medium. Way up here like this. We barely see these petals on this sunflower. Okay, way up here like this. There is up here like this. Just keep tapping over these. And then the same thing over here, even some burnt sienna. Come down this way. Make this darker. Again, you can see where we're not. Let's try a little purple now. Up in here, just a few little dots of purple up this way. Just a few little odd little dots of this. Random dots, and they really are sort of like stars on a. Here's some random dots of purple. Up here like that, little dark colors. And they go from about noon, 12 o'clock, around here, on really all the way on the inside, almost to 1, but there's a lot more of them between 3 and 6 over here. A lot more of these little dark purple dots, okay? And again, you're seeing the shadows, okay? But I want to come out here with some orange, and let's try Cad Red Medium and white. I think I probably should rinse the brush, but I didn't. But here, Cad Red Medium, white and yellow. Great example of different oranges, isn't it? Let's come over this way. Somebody asked about colors and paint colors, and interesting to me is that flowers are some of the colors that you can paint straight out of the tube. Usually you mix something. If you have a tube of color, you mix it with something else. But flowers really can come straight out of the tube. All right, now this is a little dull in here, so we have to go back with the second layer, sorry, of that, with some yellow. Second layer of this. Little white, yellow, and had red medium. I really want it lighter than that. These are quite light. Coming over here by 3 o'clock and all down in here like this. Bring this row back a bit. All right, that's looking nice. Okay, so what about this? What do we do with this? Remember, we talked about needing some yellow on there, and we didn't quite have it. So let's go back with some yellow highlights again, because acrylics dry darker, and you may thought you had it, but guess what? We didn't. So we need a few little light highlights back on the center of this. Not kind of stay away from this half between 9 and say 1 o'clock. Okay. And we're gonna climb up. Let's try a little green. So these all kind of merge. They change color as they come out. It's the same dots, but they come out. They start changing color as they climb up the flower. See that? See what I'm doing? Now it looks like it. You can look down into the center of it. Okay. All right. So far, so good. Yeah. Okay. So let's dry it and see what we get. Not dry. Not dry yet. Yeah, well, it's still a little tacky, but I think we're going to be okay. All right, so now let's take a tiny bit of glazing medium like this. You could do satin would be better than, I'm going to just put a drop here on just a drop. We just hardly, that was like 6 times too much, okay? Probably should have just, all right, now I got a little bit of glazing medium and ultramarine blue and a little tiny bit of purple. Those are both very nice clear colors. We're going to come over here like this. Way too much paint. Let's put a little bit more glazing medium. Glazing medium allows you to do this, and it's translucent, so I want these little green things to show through, but I want it to be dark back in here like this. We're going to even darken this a bit more over here like that. Okay, so this is where, now do you see the depth that we just got with that? And so we want this half really between 1 and about 9 o'clock, and stay away from the center to be, kind of glazed there. All right. So that's all we're doing with that. And you're going, really? Yep, that's all we're doing with that. So I'm just going, I know it's a lot of glazing medium for next to nothing. Let's dry it, okay? Because we have to dry that. Okay. Now, our next little trick is to take some white and yellow. Okay. And we're going to do it light first, and we're going to glaze over this. We're going to do some little dots. Can't use that brush. All right, we're going to do some little dots like this. Kind of poking out. Don't get them too perfect. Make them a little more random. I'm kind of going this way, okay? And we're going to say they're here. And then we're going to say they're here. So far, so good, right? Now, while those are drying, let's take a little bit of yellow and orange. And I want to kind of twist my, Cad Red Medium is our orange color, by the way. I want to twist, let's see, let's put this more yellow in that, really lighten it up. Okay, roll the paint off the brush if you're using it to mix with. All right, now I'm holding it straight down and making the letter U, kind of a horseshoe shape, but a little bit more random. It's kind of going this direction. Guess we could zoom in on that. You can see it. Okay, so one of the things that is John and I like to be able to do is we try to do videos ahead of time for when we're either going to be out of town, maybe somebody got sick, and I shoot these. I never know when they're going to air, but I get inspired by a painting and then I want to do it. All right, I just want that a little bit lighter than I have it. Okay. Roll the brush and put it just on the tip. It could almost be a half, and you may find that you need a tinier brush than what I'm using. I'm not pushing very hard. But is this not getting awesome with the dimensions on this? Over here we're changing a little bit. Let me just brighten, these are not bright enough. They're too, I've got to fix these. Just feel like we didn't quite get those bright enough. Okay, there you go, like that. We're still getting there. Here's our, we want to keep these colors not between really about 5 and 6. They just really are not in this section. They're kind of on the end. This kind of here. Just don't feel like I've got the right color here. Okay, so just sort of random little wispies here. Random little wispies here. It's coming together though. I mean, I think I love the contrast because really, I do a lot of personal art critiques for people. Let's put a little more white with this. Lighten this up some. I do a lot of personal art critiques for our members of the Academy, and the 99% of what I'm talking about most of the time is contrast, the building up of different layers of color. Okay? Now look how that's just popping. Isn't that pretty? Just takes a while, and again, this should be just look where the pattern goes. That's what I would tell you. So look where that pattern goes. There's a couple little ones in here, not too much though on this side. This is our bottom darker side. And I want, telling you what, I want this to be brighter. Okay, better. All right, now that's pretty good actually, as far as what we want here with the orange. Now, do we want to do anything else on these petals? Well, while this is drying, which we could do a little more on these petals. I think I want to come out a little further on the edge with this one, a little more random stuff here, this color. And here's some magenta. Let's see what that does. Ooh, that's pretty. Let's take pure magenta and put on some of this back down toward us here between, say, 5 and 9 o'clock. A few little dots of pure magenta. Can't, loving that. Just a few little dots there. Couple over in here. Not as much, just a few up in this center section, some magenta. You're going, wow, where did all these colors come from? But you see how it's building up? And I'm telling you, some of you sock folder guys could do a bang up job with this. Now, I don't want to lose my dark dots, but let's just take a minute and put this brush away. Let that just sit. Now let's tighten up our flower. Okay, so here's some bright yellow, a little bit of white in it. I'm going to say I want this. Just going to shape this petal up like that and pull it right out to the top. There, like that. Okay. And going to shape this one. You know, just a couple of them. I don't want them all shaped perfectly. You know, that's not the plan. But I want a couple of them where the edges are really crisp, okay? So there's this one. Let's just say there's one here too. Just a couple on this one for sure. We need it bright, and this one right here. I want this really pretty bright and light here, coming into our stuff like that. Okay, and how about this one? Okay, so we don't want them all like this. We definitely don't want them all in here like that, but we want a couple of these just where the light might have hit it. Okay, so now see how that's just sort of popping this, and let's take a little more white here on this side, on this one. Okay. Now I like the red background here. I like this deep dark red background on these flowers. You could put green if you wanted. I like the red up here like this. I personally think that adds a lot. But you could do dark green too. You could do a dark. That would be darker than I just did it because I had white in that, which I don't want. Some magenta and ultramarine blue. Here, I want this darker back here like that. Back in the corner here. Maybe a little darker right there. Okay, just a little more contrast. There we go. Okay, so now that you've got something that's really kind of showing up, and now I'm going to take a little cad red medium, do a few little dots. Just pure cad red up here. Not too many places, just a few. And we're starting to get the ready for our very, very bright highlights. Now remember how bright we had these right here? So if I were to take my glazing medium tiny bit of cad red medium like that, tiny bit of the red, right? Just glazing medium, and I were to glaze over these just with my brush, okay, just barely push those back. Look what happens there when you just, see they're there. You don't want to lose them. That's the trick. You want to just tint them, like you might, like a tea stain on a shirt. You want to just tint these. The same thing here. I want to just tint these where they're a little brighter somewhere, like that. Okay, right in here. I want the feeling that that's a little bit darker. I'm gonna glaze over all that. A little bit darker here, even over here too. Let's just get that a little bit darker. Okay, and of course this should be dry before you do it. If it isn't, it's gonna look a little strange, okay? So now you're seeing this whole tangle of stuff. And again, speaking of drying, we really should make an effort to dry it. In fact, I think I'm gonna take this petal out here and make this really dark. It's a little dark purple area here. There you go, just take that petal out. I think that's a nice, here's yellow, and then we'll have a darker one, kind of a shadow petal right here that we're not talking about. There we go, like that. So, because these I want a little bit darker, and coming off of here like that, less yellow. There we go. All right, so now what? Okay. Dry it. This is a fine point Posca pen, and I want to just see what this does with this. If you had trouble making small lines, you could do either a fine point or a wider one with these, like that, and this would, this is just yellow. Posca pens, you can buy them on Amazon. You have to stay on the outer ring of these, okay? But you could do these. They almost like a circle with a little dot on, you know, kind of a parentheses with a little dot on it, and they're kind of long and wiggly. Now you could do this with a small brush too, but if you have trouble, for instance, if you have trouble, you could, for instance, use this pen to add a few little highlights to something, brighten something up. If you felt like you just didn't have it and you just didn't have the dexterity, when you do something this small, to do that, you could use a pen like this, and I would say do that, you know, for sure. We're going to try with a small brush and see if we can't get the yellow on us like this. I'm going to just try some yellow, kind of roll the brush so it's on the tip, and see if we can hold it straight down and see if we can't. Yeah, I mean that works. It's slow. You know how fast I like to paint, and this is like, you know, going through a school zone. You've got to really slow down to get these, and they overlap into the outside of this flower, and I need about, I think I want some white with them. I want them really brighter. This would be, if you had a very light yellow, this would be very handy. if you had a very, very bright yellow, because that's what these are here. This is why I wanted a little contrast where these went, so you'd see them. Okay, they're very bold, little wiggly things. They kind of go in rows too. I mean, if you were really, I mean, they're actually in rows of stuff. This is all so funny because they're actually technically in little rows. I'm not being that careful with it, but they're technically all in these little rows of wiggly things. I like that word, wiggly things, right? And you got to kind of careful. You don't want to get them. When we get them over in here, we'll probably. Here we go. And as we get them this way, we're going to glaze over some of these because these are brighter than we want. The real bright ones are over here. Okay. This is where the brightest ones are. Really between about 9 and 3, or to about 2. 9 and 2 are the really bright ones. And you've got to be kind of careful. You don't want to come too far down with these. Just try pure yellow. And again, a flow paint might be good for this if you were looking for something like that, a little flow paint. These are the little brighter ones. Doing here. Just keep painting them in, you guys. You can turn it around. So it may be easier to paint something towards you, you know, to pull it towards you rather than pull away. You know, sometimes that's easier. It's easier to just take something and wiggle it towards you than it is. So just don't be afraid to just turn your canvas around and drag some paint. And again, the larger this picture is, in this case, the easier this would be. It's a little harder on something this small, okay? And I'm losing my orange here, so I'm going to put some of my orange back next to these. I'll come back and put a little orange in between them because I lost that. And I don't, you know, got to be careful I don't lose my orange. And you can, again, if you got some too fat, you can put a little orange next to them and skinny them up. Okay? Again, if you felt like you've lost some. Okay, there we go. Now these bottom ones are more of a light orange color down here. They're not the bright yellow. These bottom ones coming off of here like that, and even over here more of a gold yellow with some of the lighter parts thrown in. Okay, we just keep building up the layers here. These are really bright coming up this way. Okay, so this would be a good time to rinse my brush, and because paint's drying in it, start again. See, I'm going to start with a kind of a light. I'm going to do a few little dots on here now, just because these little things have dots on them, and if I do a few little dots on the little wiggly things, that makes it kind of work too. So I'm come over here and do a few little light, almost white dots. Okay. So now what do we got? I think we're pretty much close to done. Let me just move this over here and let you see. I think we're close to done. I want some orange ones coming in here like that. Just on this side though, from about where the shadow colors are is where I want these little light orange ones. Then I'll put some lighter things right here. Again, I want to go over this because these didn't quite get light enough. Probably in hindsight, having never done this before, in hindsight probably wouldn't have been a bad idea to paint those white and then dry them and then paint the yellow on top of them, or the orange, but we didn't do that. Now we need a few little highlights on these. It's always about the contrast. That's what it always is about. All right, so how did we do with that? I think we did pretty good. I'm pretty happy with this. I think that feels like a kind of a dynamic sunflower. The one thing I would say with this is that, here, let's just dry it and I'll show you what I mean. Okay, you've heard me say, again and again, you've heard me say, wherever there's a light, there's a dark. True? So if I were to glaze over, just take a little glazing medium and glaze over a color on these dried petals right here, just with the glazing. Just glaze over here somewhere like that on these top ones. Maybe make sure, let's just do a little bit of orange and glazing medium. Want a little bit of color. So I need a little more contrast on my petals here like that. And I'm going to glaze, put a little here, just coming out from the bottom of these like this. Here's our, okay. Now, if I do that, then when I do the yellow, it's going to show up more. Does that make sense? That yellow has to show up because we've made this darker. So now, this yellow, a little bit of white, because I didn't want it exactly all even. I wanted some of these to come out further. Like that. And they weren't showing up here because it was here, it was just too oh, that's so pretty though, isn't it? I just love these. It wasn't showing up because it was too much, everything was too much the same value or color. Okay. Same things over here. Let's put a little of these down this way. Okay. All right. So now, what's just the last thing we're going to do? And make sure I have enough. Well, it's actually the last. So I want to make sure I have enough of this in here. So a little water on the brush, kind of make these little loops here. Just in a couple places. A few more little loops. All right, so far so good. And then I want to take purple, which is my, and I want to re-put the dark dots. And if you need to dry it before you do this, there's a row of these dark dots that are pretty big, and they're more, I lost a little when I did all this, but they're randomly over in this area. Ooh, too much paint on the brush. Got it. These are really tiny, almost like little seeds. Like that, and they're just kind of, there really weren't very many. They're almost a rust brown over here. They weren't as dark on this side. They're over here, but they're more of, it's more of a shadow thing on down on this edge, and down back in here like that. Underneath here, it's just more of a shadow thing. And then the rest of this is you just put a few, and I mean, it's just funny that, I mean, they're not everywhere, and I think that's what people want to do when they see something like this. Here's some red and yellow. I want a bright orange. They see something like this, they think that they have to be everywhere, and if you get them too big, dry it and do something else. These are a little brighter right here. Some yellow. Gosh. Running out of places to mix stuff. I want some bright orange here. Bright yellow, really. Here's some randomly bright dots here in a couple places. See, just not everywhere, please. Let's go straight into this color. Random bright ones here and there. Okay. The same thing with the orange coming back in here, kind of break this up with a little orange. Well, there you go. Here's our, let me just put this brush in water. And I don't know, I think that's kind of neat. I don't know if you guys think it's neat, but I love this. And I want to just, here's some cad red and magenta mixed together. I want to even pop these colors up even more on this side. I mean, you know, these layers of colors make such a difference. Let's try some of that rose madder too here. These burgundy colors are so pretty. Let's put that off the canvas like this. Like that. Bring this over a little more. There was actually some dark over here that was very interesting on this side. It was just because this is our shadow side between about 6 and 3. And then this, of course, is being shaded. And that's an interesting thing, too, because if I made a dark green, remember we glazed that area, too. But if I made a very dark green with yellow and ultramarine blue and said that right in here, this was really dark right here. So you can kind of cut into these a little bit. See what I just did? Cut into that. Don't mess up your glaze, but I'm just saying cut into those a little bit. And just a couple of places touch the pattern. Okay. Well, at some point you gotta quit. I think that's fun. Would I do anything else? And Ginger says, she never quits. She never quits. It's just, did you do anything else, right? Let's see, did I? Okay, here's sort of a light green. Do we want one more light on the dot on this? This would be where, where's my Posca pen? Put my white out of the way here. Okay, so this was where, I'll show you where this would be helpful, okay? Again, this is a pen here, so if I wanted a little bit of a dot, where's the yellow? That's the one I want here. White come in just in a couple places. Don't do it everywhere because you'll lose the surprise of it, right? But if I can't, because this is so small. And here's a dark blue one. I haven't even used this before. Here's a dark blue one. Let's play with this for a second. Dark purple would have been better, but I don't think I have one in this room. Here we go. And you guys know about pumping them up first. You do this. So you burp them and then you do this. I'm putting some of the dark lines back that I missed in here, just a few. I like those colors. I want a little of that color in here too. There's none in the flower, but I like that. So it probably would have been better to have that really dark. But I don't think I have a dark. I don't have a dark. What's this? This is an old paint pen that's gone. Why? Not even a cap on it. Okay. Well, I think we're just gonna stop it there. I'm not sure I totally like the blue. Let me take a black. See, now this one isn't even drawing anymore. Can you see that? This one is, the point on this is gone, so that's going in the trash. Let's see what else I got. Let's see what else I got. Oh, here's a dark purple Sharpie. That would probably be better than what I had here. Let me put my glasses on. Put a few dark dots in here next to that. There, all right, that got a little bit better in here, like that. Okay, that works. All right, we're gonna sign it on this petal right here. Now, if you guys had fun with this, I mean, if this was really something that you really had fun doing and you want to see more of our videos, the trick is to subscribe, okay? And I'm gonna put a few little yellow things here, even though I signed it. I like these little yellow squiggly things. I'm gonna just do a few more, just because I can. There we go. And subscribe to the channel, share this with other people. Let me just get this piece of paper out of the way so you can just move the palette. Now take kind of look at the finished piece, and let's just get back from that a little bit, and then we can zoom in. And don't you think that's fun? I thought that was really fun. And imagine this really large, larger than the flower itself, and then you could really get the patterns a little bit more in the center. You know, you could get a little bit more detail in the center, which would not be a bad thing at all. Part of me wants to do a little phthalo blue and glazing medium now. You're going, why? Why? Because, you know, orange and turquoise are complements. So if I do a little phthalo blue, just the tiniest amount, that blue reminded me that I like that color. Phthalo blue and glazing medium. Now there's the color gingers come to love and appreciate, right? And yeah, let's just come around here like that, and you can kind of see where we've got the real contrast on the flower, right? And maybe I'll put a little blue right here, right down here, and right here. There, just a few little bits of contrast there on that. What could I do? Maybe here too. Here we go. Sometimes that can be very, very effective, and I hope that, you know, this was a good example of lights and darks. Little red slash through my name. I say anything else I want to do. It makes me wish I had my really bright orange. You know, I had a color that was the brightest orange, and I don't think you can even mix it as bright as this was. Part of me really wants that color to come up here because I want it a little bit brighter right here. Right there, not too much, just here. And I know I signed it, but acrylics dry darker. I'm looking at this going, yeah, but I need it brighter right there. Okay, I'll quit because I mean I could play with this for hours, but I hope you enjoyed it. And this is how we paint it. Subscribe to our channel. Check out our website, gingercooklive.gallery, and our schedule to see when we're going to be back doing live shows. And we just really appreciate you. And if you have any questions, write gingercooklive.gallery, and I can maybe answer them on the next live video. So have fun, you guys. Hi, this is Ginger Cook, and today we're going to be on YouTube. We're going to be painting this sunflower, kind of a close-up of the sunflower. I saw the photo over on PMP and the photos. I thought this was really pretty, and I loved all the little detail on this. And I like the light and darks. We're going to use some glazing medium, and I'm going to explain how to. The brushes we used are just, you want a real sharp pointy brush for this. I was going to suggest even a Posca pen, a yellow one. I did a couple lines with that, and a darker one too, but basically glazing medium, all my normal colors, a very tiny pointed brush. This is a Bristol on any kind of pointy brush where you can go straight up and down and stab. Cad yellow, medium white. I go through, I'll tell you all the colors as we go. This is on a 6x8 canvas. It's a real piece of canvas. It is not paper, and it's painted with just sort of a red background. And that's how we did it, and I thought having this would be really a neat picture. And while it's 6x8, if you did it larger, then I would encourage you to find the photo and then really follow the patterns in here. We didn't need to get so detailed in this one, but if I was going to do it larger, I sure would. So I hope you guys enjoy painting this. And this is our close-up of a sunflower. Oh, and by the way, if you haven't subscribed to our channel, you ought to do so right now.